The night has melted into that dusky blue hour where you can't tell if the world is asleep or just holding its breath. Somewhere in Thebes, a rooster probably tried to crow, got ignored, and went back to bed. You're standing near another temple courtyard, and the air feels heavy with incense and a strange sense of precision, as if every grain of sand here has an appointment. You remember that dripping clepsydra, its rhythm like a quiet heartbeat in the dark. But Egypt isn't finished tinkering with time yet. The water clock solved one problem, measuring the hours of night, but it also created another. Who gets to decide what those hours mean? Enter the timekeepers, a class of temple officials who seem half priest, half scientist, and fully exhausted. Their job is to tend the clocks, refill them, adjust them with the stars, and make sure no ritual starts late. You find one now, stooped over a huge stone clepsydra shaped like a lotus flower, his fingers tracing markings along the inner rim. He looks up, his eyes lit by lamplight. Every drop, he murmurs, is a prayer. It sounds poetic until you realize he's also muttering about the water pressure. Apparently, the Nile's changing temperature messes with his timing, and he's been trying to fix it for weeks. Even 3,500 years ago, timekeeping came with tech support issues. The clock he's working on isn't just functional, it's beautiful. Carved along its sides are images of the sun god Ra, the sky goddess Nut, and a few smaller deities who probably exist just to hold measuring sticks. The inside is marked with hour lines, 12 in total for the night, each one slightly different in length because Egyptian hours changed with the seasons. Yes, you heard that right. Summer hours were longer, winter hours shorter. Historians still argue whether that system made daily life easier or just more confusing. Imagine trying to explain that to your boss. Sorry I'm late, the hour was longer today. The priest finishes his adjustment and sets the vessel back in its niche. When he tips water into it, the surface trembles under torchlight, reflecting little golden waves up the walls. The temple smells of oil and stone, and you can almost hear the weight of centuries in that quiet dripping sound. But here's something fascinating. The Egyptians didn't just use these water clocks for rituals. They began to use them to measure work and justice. Legal scribes timed arguments during hearings so that each speaker had a fair portion of water before the vessel emptied. Imagine a courtroom where lawyers' speeches literally ran out of time when the last drop fell. The phrase, "your time is up," must have carried serious weight. And in the workshops near the river, foremen used small clepsydras to regulate labor. Each shift ended when the water ran dry, and someone would flip the clock and start again. You can picture workers sighing in relief as they hear that final soft splash, a sound far sweeter than your 5 p.m. alarm. Still, all these devices depended on care and consistency. The temples had entire staff just for maintenance, checking flow rates, cleaning residue, even reciting short prayers to keep the timing gods happy. One old record mentions the Keeper of the Hours, a title that sounds suspiciously like an early manager of productivity apps. Meanwhile, outside the temples, regular folks were trying to get in on the action. Market vendors began using smaller shadow clocks and even pocket-sized clepsydras to decide when to open and close their stalls. It's easy to imagine the gossip. Murat's clock runs slow, she's cheating the afternoon again. The obsession with timing started to ripple through daily life. Fishermen set nets by moonrise, bakers timed their ovens by dripping water, and farmers learned to predict the best irrigation hours with a mix of astronomy and guesswork. Slowly but surely, Egypt was becoming one of the first time-disciplined societies in human history. And yet, the process wasn't purely mechanical, it was spiritual. In every temple, the passage of time was tied to the order of the universe, known as Mad, the cosmic balance that kept chaos away. If a priest performed a sunrise ritual too early or too late, it wasn't just a scheduling error. It was an offense against Mad herself. You stand quietly as the temple musicians begin to play, their flutes and sistrums marking the first hour before dawn. Somewhere deep inside the sanctum, a statue of Ra gleams faintly in torchlight, waiting to be greeted. The water clock gurgles, the stars fade, and a few yawning initiates shuffle into place. Then, just before the horizon lightens, a priest rings a bell. Not a loud clang, but a soft, resonant tone that ripples through the stillness. It's the signal to begin the dawn hymn. For a moment it feels like all of Egypt is breathing in sync. The farmers, the guards, the servants, the gods themselves. You can't help but smile. This isn't just timekeeping, it's choreography. Every drip, every shadow, every song is part of a grand, sleepy dance that turns chaos into calm. Still, you wonder, what happens if someone oversleeps? Does the priest have an apprentice to shake him awake before sunrise? The answer, as it turns out, is yes, and soon those sleepy apprentices will create something even more ingenious than the water clock. But before that next chapter, you linger in this moment. The first light of day slides across the temple floor. The last drop of water falls. Somewhere a new clock is being filled, and you realize the Egyptians didn't just measure time, they made it sacred, one drop at a time.